The classroom was different from anything on Earth. It stretched wide and tall, with curved walls that seemed to glow with soft blue light. Seats were arranged in circles, each one designed for a different type of body. Some looked like chairs. Others looked like bowls or platforms or hanging straps. Students filled these seats and no two looked the same. Hana Kim sat in a standard human chair, her hands folded on the desk in front of her. She was 23 years old with dark hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. Her clothes were practical, a gray jacket over a black shirt and comfortable pants. She looked calm, but inside her heart beat a little faster than usual. This was her second year at the Galactic Academy. The Academy floated in space on a massive station called Terminus 7. Students came here from hundreds of planets to learn about different species, how they lived, and how they could work together. Hana was studying xenobiology, the science of alien life. To her left sat Taryn, a Flanari student. The Flanari looked like they were made of living crystal. Light passed through Taryn's body, creating small rainbows on the desk. Taryn's species came from a peaceful world where everyone ate plants and no one fought. Taryn was nervous about everything, especially this class. To her right sat Crix, a Zenthari. He was tall and covered in dark green scales. His eyes were yellow with vertical pupils like a snake from Earth. The Zenthari were proud hunters. Crix often talked about how his people were the best predators in the galaxy. He liked to remind everyone, especially the humans, that his species had been hunting for millions of years. Other students filled the room. There was Doran, who looked like a large fish with arms and legs, his skin always wet and shimmering. There was Lyra, covered in soft feathers of blue and gold with large eyes that could see colors humans couldn't even imagine. There were students with fur, students with shells, students with skin that changed color, and students that floated instead of sitting. At the front of the classroom stood Professor Veltar. She was a Quillarian, which meant she looked something like a giant insect. Her body was segmented and covered in hard, dark purple armor. She had 6 legs and 4 arms. Her head was triangular with large compound eyes that could look in multiple directions at once. 2 mandibles clicked together when she spoke, making a sound like scissors cutting paper. Professor Velthar was known for being tough. She expected the best from her students. She had been teaching for 30 years and had probably forgotten more about xenobiology than most professors would ever learn. Students respected her even if they were a little afraid of her. Today's class was Advanced Predator Studies. The title alone made half the students nervous. Professor Velthar's mandibles clicked as she looked around the room. Her multiple eyes seemed to see every student at once. "Students," she said, her voice buzzing slightly, "today I am giving you your next assignment. This will be a practical demonstration, not just theory and readings." The room went quiet. Practical assignments in this class were always challenging. "Each of you will bring a predator to class," the professor continued. "A real predator from your homeworld, or from a world you have access to. You will present this predator to the class. You will explain its hunting methods, its adaptations, and its behavior. You will demonstrate these things if possible." Whispers filled the classroom. Torin made a small sound of fear, their crystal body vibrating slightly. Even Crix looked surprised, though he tried to hide it. "Professor," Lyra said, raising one wing, "should the predators be contained? In cages or force fields?" "Yes," Professor Velthar said firmly. "Safety is important. Your predators must be secured. They should not pose a threat to your classmates. However, they must be real predators, not recordings or holograms. I want to see actual living creatures demonstrating actual predatory behavior." Crix leaned back in his seat, a smile showing his sharp teeth. "This will be easy for me," he said loudly.
"My family owns hunting beasts."
"I will bring one of our finest." Taryn shook their head, light dancing through their transparent form. "I cannot do this. My world has no predators. We eliminated them thousands of years ago." "Then you will need to find a predator from another world," Professor Velthar said. "There are many species available on this station. You have 3 weeks to prepare." The professor's eyes turned toward Hana. "Student Kim, your species is classified as a predator species. What will you bring?" All eyes in the room turned to look at Hana. Being a predator species made humans unusual. Most species in the galaxy had evolved from prey animals. They ate plants or small insects. The idea of actively hunting and killing for food made many of them uncomfortable. Humans who could eat almost anything and had evolved by chasing prey until it collapsed from exhaustion were considered strange and a little frightening. Hana smiled calmly. I have the perfect specimens in mind, Professor. Specimens? Plural? The professor asked. Yes, Hana said. 2 of them, Crix laughed. 2? Are you trying to show off, human? 1 predator should be enough for anyone. Hana just smiled and didn't answer. She had learned that sometimes it was better to show rather than tell. After class ended, students gathered in small groups talking about the assignment. Many looked worried. Taran stood alone, clearly scared. Doran was trying to figure out what aquatic predator he could transport safely. Lyra was talking about small flying hunters from her homeworld. Crix walked past Hana, his scales gleaming under the lights. I hope your Earth predators are impressive, he said. My hunting beast has killed prey 3 times its size. It has never failed a hunt. I'm sure it's very skilled, Hana said politely. Crix snorted and walked away. He didn't think humans could compete with Zenthari hunters. That evening, Hana sat in her small quarters on the station. The room was simple: a bed, a desk, a small bathroom, and a window showing the stars outside. She pulled up a communication screen and sent a message to Earth. It was a very specific request to a very specific person. The answer came back 3 hours later. It was a single word: approved. Hana smiled. This would be perfect. Over the next 3 weeks, rumors spread through the academy. Students whispered about what predators would be brought to class. Someone said Crix's hunting beast was arriving in a reinforced containment unit. Someone else said Lyra was bringing a bird with talons that could cut through metal. Taran had managed to find a small poisonous insect and was terrified of it, even though it was locked in a container the size of a fist. People asked Hana what she was bringing. She always gave the same answer: you'll see. Some students thought she would bring a bear. Bears from Earth were famous across the galaxy, huge, strong, and dangerous. Others thought she might bring one of Earth's big cats like a tiger or lion. A few students whispered that she might bring a wolf, since humans had a strange relationship with those. No one guessed the truth. The day before the presentations were scheduled to begin, a transport ship arrived at Terminus 7. Hana went to the docking bay to collect her package. The transport officer, a human woman with gray hair, handed her a special carrier. They're in good shape, the officer said. Healthy, friendly, and ready to go. Good luck with your presentation. Thank you, Hana said, taking the carrier carefully. Inside, something moved. Something made a small sound, soft and questioning. Hana carried the container back to her quarters. Tomorrow would be interesting. Tomorrow her classmates would learn something new about Earth. Tomorrow they would learn about humanity's strangest relationship. Tomorrow they would meet the predators. The cafeteria on Terminus 7 was always busy during mealtimes. It was a huge space with high ceilings and windows that looked out into space. Different sections served different types of food for different types of bodies. There was a section for liquid nutrients, a section for crystalline minerals, a section for plant matter, and a small section in the corner that served meat. Hana sat at a table with Doran and Lyra. On her plate was something that looked like chicken with vegetables. Most students in the cafeteria were eating plants or drinking nutrient solutions. Only a few ate meat, and they usually sat together in the corner. Everyone is talking about the assignment, Lyra said, picking at her seed mixture with her beak. I have never seen so many students scared of a class project. It is unusual, Doran agreed. His voice bubbled slightly because of the water he needed to keep his gills wet. Most species do not like being near predators. It makes them nervous. Does it make you nervous? Hana asked. Doran thought about this. A little. My people are not prey exactly. We live in the deep oceans where there are predators, but they usually hunt smaller fish. Still, the idea of having predators in the classroom feels wrong. Lyra nodded, her feathers rustling. On my world, we have flying hunters. Birds much larger than me with sharp talons. We build our nests in places they cannot reach. We teach our children to watch the skies. The idea of bringing one into a classroom would terrify most of my people. But you are bringing one, Hana pointed out. A very small one, Lyra said quickly. A juvenile. And it will be in a secure container. I would not bring an adult. That would be too dangerous. Across the cafeteria, Crick sat with other Xanthari students. They were all eating meat and talking loudly. Occasionally, one of them would look over at the other species and laugh. The Xanthari thought they were superior because they were predators. They believed hunting made them strong and smart. The Xanthari do not understand why everyone is worried, Hana said quietly. They think being a predator makes you better than other species. Many predator species think that way, Doran said. They see prey species as weak or cowardly. They do not understand that there are different types of strength. What do humans think? And Lyra asked, looking at Hana with her large eyes. Hana took a bite of her food and chewed thoughtfully. Humans think predators and prey are just different strategies for survival. Neither is better, both work. On Earth we have plants that can kill animals, and animals that eat only plants but could kill a human easily if they wanted to. Being a predator just means you get your energy from eating other animals. It does not make you special. But humans are predators, Lyra said. Do other humans not see themselves as special? Some do, Hana admitted. But most humans know that we succeeded because we worked together, not because we were good at hunting. Alone, a human is not very dangerous, but humans in a group can do almost anything. Later that day, Hana was in the library studying for another class when Terran found her. The Flanari student's crystal body was vibrating with anxiety, creating a soft humming sound. Hana, Terran said quietly. Can I ask you something? Of course, Hana said, closing her book. Terran sat down, or rather arranged their crystalline body on the chair. I am very afraid of the assignment. I found a small predator to bring, but even looking at it in its container makes my body react. My instincts tell me to run. How do you stay calm around predators? Hana considered the question carefully. I think it helps that I grew up around them. On Earth, predators are everywhere. In the oceans, in the forests, in the air, even in cities. Humans learn to live alongside them. But you are a predator species yourself, Terran said. Of course you are not afraid of other predators. That is not entirely true, Hana said. Humans are afraid of predators too. We have natural fear responses. When we see a large predator, our hearts beat faster. We feel the urge to run or freeze. But we have learned to manage that fear. We study predators. We understand them. And sometimes we even live with them. Live with them? Terran's body vibrated harder, making the light refract in strange patterns. How is that possible? Hana smiled. You will see during my presentation. That evening, Hana went to her quarters and checked on her special delivery. She had set up a temporary living space for her specimens in her room. There was a litter box in the bathroom, food and water bowls near the door, and several soft places to sleep. She had also brought toys from the human residential area. When she opened the door, two small creatures ran to greet her. They were covered in soft fur with stripes of gray and black. They had large eyes, pointed ears, and long tails. Each one was about the size of a small pillow. They made small sounds, high-pitched mewing noises, and rubbed against her legs. Hello, Bori. Hello, Duri, Hana said, bending down to pet them. The creatures pushed their heads into her hands and made a strange rumbling sound. It was like a very small engine running. This was called purring, and it meant they were happy. These were cats. Specifically, domestic cats from Earth, Felis catus. They were 6 months old, which meant they were young but not babies. They were healthy, friendly, and very affectionate. Hana had chosen them carefully. She had contacted a friend who worked at the human residential sector on the station. The friend had 2 cats who had recently had kittens. These 2 were perfect for the demonstration. She fed them their dinner, specially prepared cat food that met their nutritional needs. Both cats ate quickly, making small crunching sounds. When they finished, they cleaned their faces with their paws in a very precise way. Then they climbed onto Hana's bed and curled up together. Hana sat at her desk and started preparing her presentation notes. She needed to explain exactly what cats were, where they came from, and why they were perfect examples of Earth's predators. Cats, she wrote, were obligate carnivores. This meant they could only survive by eating meat. Their bodies could not process plant matter the way humans could. They needed nutrients that only came from animal tissue. They were also incredibly efficient hunters. A cat could hunt and kill multiple small animals every day. They had evolved to be nearly perfect predators for their size. Fast reflexes, sharp claws, excellent night vision, and hunting instincts that activated automatically when they saw something move quickly. But the most interesting thing about cats was their relationship with humans. Cats had chosen to live with humans about 10,000 years ago. When humans started farming and storing grain, mice and rats came to eat the grain. Cats came to hunt the mice and rats. Humans realized the cats were useful and started leaving out food for them. Over time, cats and humans formed a partnership. The important thing was that cats were not like dogs. Dogs had been bred and changed by humans over thousands of years. Dogs were dependent on humans and would obey commands. Cats were different. Cats had not changed much from their wild ancestors. They did not obey commands. They chose to stay with humans because they wanted to, not because they had to. A cat was a wild predator that decided to live in your house. Hana looked over at Bori and Duri, who were now grooming each other. They looked peaceful and harmless. But she knew what they were capable of. She had seen cats hunt. She had seen the change that came over them when their predator instincts activated. It was like watching a switch flip. One moment they were sweet and cuddly. The next moment they were focused, efficient killers. Tomorrow the class would see that transformation. They would understand why cats were such perfect examples of Earth's predators. They would also understand something about humans, that they could live with predators and form real bonds with them. Hana finished her notes and got ready for bed. When she lay down, both cats immediately joined her. Bori settled on her chest, purring loudly. Duri curled up by her feet. Their warmth was comforting. She fell asleep thinking about tomorrow. Some of her classmates would be surprised, some would be confused, and some, like Crix, would probably be annoyed that she had not brought something big and frightening. But they would all learn something important. Size was not what made a predator dangerous. Aggression was not what made a predator successful. What made a predator truly remarkable was efficiency, adaptability, and the ability to survive in any environment. And cats, these small purring creatures sleeping in her bed, were among the most successful predators Earth had ever produced. They had spread across the entire planet. They lived in deserts and forests, in cities and villages. There were over 600 million of them living with humans. They were everywhere. Tomorrow the galaxy would learn about them. The day of the presentations arrived. The classroom had been rearranged for safety. All the student seats were pushed back and up, creating a theater-like arrangement. In the center was a demonstration area surrounded by glowing blue energy barriers. These barriers could stop almost anything: claws, teeth, even energy weapons. They were designed to keep dangerous creatures contained. Students filed in slowly, many looking nervous. Taran arrived early and chose a seat in the very back row, as far from the demonstration area as possible. Their crystal body was already vibrating with anxiety. Lyra sat in the middle, her feathers fluffed up slightly. Even Doran, who was usually calm, kept his large eyes fixed on the empty demonstration space. Crix arrived with confidence, carrying a large reinforced container. Inside, something moved and made a low growling sound. Other students moved away from him quickly. He smiled, enjoying their fear. He placed his container at the side of the room where it would wait until his turn. One by one, other students brought in their specimens. Each predator was secured in some type of containment. Some were in cages with multiple locks. Some were in sealed tubes filled with liquid. One student had brought a predator in what looked like a small armored box with air holes. Every single specimen was clearly dangerous and clearly secured away from any contact with students. Professor Velthar entered the room, her 6 legs clicking on the floor. Her mandibles moved as she counted the students and the containers. Good, everyone is prepared. Let us begin. The first presentation was from a student named Kale, whose species looked like walking plants. Kale brought a predator from his homeworld, a serpent-like creature that could sense body heat. It stayed coiled in its transparent cage, occasionally flicking a forked tongue. Kale explained its hunting methods while staying well away from the cage. The class took notes. Lyra went next. Her predator was a small bird with a hooked beak and sharp talons. It sat on a perch inside a cage, its eyes scanning the room constantly. Lyra explained how her people's predators could dive from the sky at incredible speeds. The bird demonstrated by swooping from its perch to catch a piece of meat she dropped through a feeding slot. The movement was so fast that several students jumped. The professor nodded approvingly. Then came Crix's turn. 2 students helped him move his large container into the demonstration area. The energy barriers strengthened automatically, sensing something dangerous inside. Crix entered the barrier field and opened the container carefully. The creature that emerged was impressive. It stood as tall as Crix's waist and was built like a combination of a large cat and a reptile. It had 6 legs, each ending in curved claws. Its mouth was filled with teeth and its eyes glowed yellow in the classroom lights. Its scales were dark red with black patterns. This was a Zenthari hunting beast, bred for thousands of years to be the perfect predator. The beast moved around the demonstration area with deadly grace. Its muscles rippled under its scales. Crix explained its features: the powerful jaw that could crush bone, the claws that could dig into rock, the excellent vision and hearing. He threw a piece of meat into the air, and the beast leaped up to catch it with frightening speed. Several students leaned back in their seats. Even through the energy barrier, the beast's presence was intimidating. This was a real predator, dangerous and powerful. Crix looked very proud. "Very good, Student Crix," Professor Velthar said. "An excellent specimen. You may secure it and return to your seat." Crix coaxed the beast back into its container with more meat, then locked it securely. He returned to his seat looking satisfied. More presentations followed. Tarian went next, their hands shaking as they placed a small container in the demonstration area. Inside was an insect-like predator no bigger than a human thumb. It had a venomous stinger and moved with jerky, aggressive motions. Taran explained everything from outside the barrier, their voice trembling. The professor praised their courage. Doran brought an aquatic predator that looked like a jellyfish made of razors. It floated in a sealed water tank, its tentacles drifting gracefully. Beautiful but deadly. The professor was impressed. Finally, the professor checked her list. "Student Kim, you are last. Please bring in your specimens." Hana was not in her seat. There was a moment of confusion. Then Professor Velthar checked her data pad. Student Kim requested permission to enter through the side door due to transport logistics. Permission was granted. All eyes turned to the side door. Students whispered to each other. What kind of predator needed special transport logistics? How big was it? How dangerous? Crix leaned forward in his seat, interested. He wanted to see what the human had brought. Taran moved even further back, their crystal body humming with fear. Lyra's feathers stood up slightly. The side door opened. Hana walked in. She was not wearing protective gear. She was not carrying a container. She was not using any kind of restraint or cage. She was wearing normal civilian clothes, comfortable pants and a simple shirt. And she was smiling. On her shoulders sat 2 small animals. They were covered in fur with gray and black stripes. They had large green eyes, pointed ears that swiveled independently, and long tails that hung down over Hana's chest. Each one was no bigger than a human baby. They sat calmly on her shoulders, looking around the room with apparent curiosity. One of them made a small sound. A soft, questioning mew. The classroom went completely silent. Then the whispers started. "What are those?" "They are so small. Are those the predators? Where are the adults? Why is she not using a cage?" Crix stood up, his yellow eyes narrowed. "Those are babies, cubs. Where is the adult predator?" Hana walked calmly to the demonstration area. One of the small creatures adjusted its position on her shoulder, digging its claws slightly into her jacket for balance. The other one yawned, showing small white teeth and a pink tongue. Professor Velthar's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of confusion or agitation. "Student Kim, the assignment was to bring a predator. These appear to be juvenile specimens and they are not secured. Where is your containment?" Hana reached up and gently scratched one of the creatures behind its ear. It pushed its head into her hand and made a strange rumbling sound like a very small engine. The sound was loud enough for the whole class to hear. It did not sound threatening. It sounded almost happy. "Professor," Hana said calmly, "these are not cubs. These are fully grown adult predators. Their species reaches maturity at about 6 months of age. Bori here," she touched the one on her left shoulder, "is 7 months old. Duri," she touched the one on her right, "is 6.5 months. They are adults." "But they are so small," someone said. "Yes," Hana agreed. "They are small. Size is not what makes something a predator. What matters is behavior, adaptation, and hunting success. These are predators, apex predators in fact, from Earth." Crix laughed, but it sounded forced. "Those apex predators? They look like toys, like pets." "They are pets," Hana said simply. "But they are also predators. The 2 things are not mutually exclusive. May I begin my demonstration, Professor?" Professor Velthar's multiple eyes focused on the small creatures. She seemed uncertain, which was unusual for her. These were not like any predator specimens she had seen before. They were not aggressive. They were not trying to escape or attack. They were just sitting calmly on the human shoulders, making that strange rumbling sound. "Very well," the professor said slowly. "You may proceed. But I must warn you, if those creatures pose any threat to the students, this demonstration will end immediately." "Understood," Hana said. "But I promise you, Professor, they will not hurt anyone unless I specifically ask them to hunt. And I will not ask them to do that." She stepped into the demonstration area. The energy barriers activated automatically, sealing her inside with the two small creatures. They did not seem bothered by this. One of them, Bori, jumped down from her shoulder and began exploring the space, sniffing at the floor. The other one, Duri, stayed on her shoulder, watching the students with large, calm eyes. Hana took a breath. This was it. Time to show the galaxy something new. "Class," she began, "let me introduce you to Felis catus, the domestic cat, one of Earth's most successful predators." Hana bent down and gently picked up Bori, who had been investigating a corner of the demonstration area. The cat allowed herself to be lifted, her body relaxed and trusting. Hana held her carefully, supporting her back legs. "First, let me show you the physical adaptations of a cat," Hana said, her voice calm and professional. "These are the tools that make them such effective hunters." She held up one of Bori's paws. The paw was small and looked soft, with white fur and pink pads. "This looks harmless, correct?" Watch. Hana gently pressed on the paw pad. Immediately, 5 curved claws extended from the paw, sharp, white, and needle-like. The class gasped. The claws were retractable, hidden inside the paw until needed. "Each paw has 5 claws on the front and 4 on the back," Hana explained. "That is 18 claws total. Each one is incredibly sharp. Cats sharpen them regularly on rough surfaces. These claws can grip, climb, and fight. They can cut through skin easily." She released the pressure and the claws slid back inside, disappearing into the soft paw. Several students leaned forward to see better. "Next, the teeth," Hana said. She gently opened Bori's mouth. The cat allowed this without protest, though she looked slightly annoyed. Inside were rows of white teeth, including 4 prominent fangs, 2 on top, 2 on bottom. They were small but extremely sharp. Cats have 30 teeth as adult, Hana explained. These 4 large ones are the canines. They are designed to deliver a killing bite. Cats kill by biting the neck of their prey and severing the spinal cord. It is quick and efficient. The other teeth are for cutting meat. Cats cannot chew like humans do. They tear and swallow. She closed Bori's mouth and the cat immediately began grooming her face with one paw, as if annoyed at having been examined. "Now, the eyes," Hana said, turning Bori to face the class. The cat's large green eyes stared out at the students. "Notice the position. Forward-facing, not on the sides of the head." This is a predator adaptation. Forward-facing eyes provide depth perception, which is necessary for judging distance when pouncing on prey. Their eyes also have excellent night vision, Hana continued. Cats can see in light levels 6 times lower than what humans need. They are designed to hunt at dawn and dusk when their prey is most active. "Watch what happens in low light." She spoke a command to the classroom computer. The lights dimmed slightly. Immediately, Bori's pupils expanded, turning from narrow slits to large black circles. Several students made surprised sounds. "The pupils can change size dramatically," Hana explained. "This allows them to hunt in any lighting condition. In bright light, they are slits. In darkness, they open wide to capture every bit of available light." The lights returned to normal and Bori's pupils contracted again. "The ears," Hana said, pointing to Bori's pointed ears. They swiveled independently, one pointing forward and one to the side. Cats can rotate their ears nearly 180 degrees. They can pinpoint the location of sounds with incredible accuracy. This helps them locate prey even when they cannot see it. Professor Velthar's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. "These are impressive adaptations, but they are similar to many small predators. What makes these creatures special?" Hana smiled. "The combination of adaptations is part of it, but the real answer is in their behavior and success rate. Let me demonstrate their hunting technique." She set Bori down gently and pulled a small toy from her pocket. It was a simple thing, a bunch of feathers attached to a string attached to a stick. She held it up for the class to see. I'm going to simulate prey movement, Hana said. Watch what happens. She moved the toy slowly along the ground. Both cats, who had been calmly sitting, immediately focused on it. Their entire body language changed in an instant. Bori's pupils dilated to full black even in the bright classroom lights. Her ears pointed forward, focused entirely on the moving toy. Her tail began to twitch, small controlled movements. Her body lowered into a crouch, every muscle tensing. Duri, still on Hana's shoulder, watched with the same intensity. His pupils were huge black circles. His little body was completely still except for the tip of his tail, which moved back and forth slowly. The transformation was startling. These cute, cuddly creatures had become something else, something focused, something dangerous. Several students in the front row leaned back instinctively, even though the energy barriers protected them. Taryn made a small sound of fear, their crystal body vibrating. Even Crick stopped smiling. Hana moved the toy slightly. Bori crept forward, staying low to the ground. Her movements were completely silent. She used the demonstration area's small variations in floor height as cover, hiding her approach. This was stalking, the first phase of a hunt. Notice the technique, Hana said quietly. She is approaching from an angle, not directly. She is using the terrain. She is minimizing her profile. This is not random. This is strategy. Bori got closer. Her haunches wiggled slightly, preparing for the pounce. Then Hana flicked the toy quickly. Bori exploded into motion. The speed was incredible, faster than most students could follow. She leaped through the air, all four paws extended, claws out. She caught the toy in mid-flight, wrapping her front legs around it and bringing it down with her back legs kicking. The entire attack took less than a second. She held the toy pinned to the ground with her front claws and bit it at what would have been the neck, a killing bite. Then she kicked at it with her back legs, rapid, powerful kicks that would have disemboweled real prey. The classroom was silent except for Bori's heavy breathing. That, Ihana said quietly, is why cats are successful predators. Duri, not wanting to be left out, jumped down from Hana's shoulder and pounced on the toy as well. Both cats wrestled with it, their movements coordinated without any communication. They were practicing cooperative hunting, useful for taking down prey larger than themselves. Professor Velthar's compound eyes watched every movement. The speed is impressive, she admitted, but most predators can move quickly in short bursts. What is the hunting success rate of these creatures? In natural conditions, a domestic cat has a hunting success rate of about 32%, Hana said. That means roughly 1 in 3 attacks results in a kill. This is higher than most large predators. Lions, for example, have a success rate of about 25%. Wild dogs are around 30%. She pulled the toy away from the cats. They watched it go, their predator focus still active, and cats hunt frequently. In areas where prey is abundant, a single cat can hunt and kill 8 to 12 small animals per day. They do not hunt only when hungry. They hunt for practice, for play, and for the joy of hunting itself. Crick spoke up, his voice skeptical. But they are so small. What could they possibly hunt that matters? Insects, tiny rodents? Rodents, yes, Hana agreed. But also birds, lizards, snakes, fish, and occasionally prey much larger than themselves. Cats have been documented hunting and killing rabbits, which can weigh 3 times what the cat weighs. They are also one of the few predators that regularly hunt other predators. They will kill and eat snakes, including venomous ones. She paused. There is something else you should know. On Earth, domestic and feral cats are considered one of the most destructive invasive species. In areas where cats have been introduced by humans, they have driven 63 species to complete extinction. 63 entire species eliminated by these small predators. The classroom went very quiet. 63 extinctions was not a small number. That was the kind of damage usually associated with environmental disasters or planetary changes, not small furry animals. They are too efficient, Hana said softly. Too successful. Too adaptable. Cats can survive in almost any environment Earth has. Deserts, forests, mountains, cities. They can thrive in temperatures from below freezing to extreme heat. They can live alone or in groups. They can hunt during day or night. They are nearly perfect predators for their size. She paused and then smiled. And then, after all that hunting, they come home and demand to be petted. As if to demonstrate, Bori walked over to Hana and rubbed against her legs, purring loudly. The predator was gone, replaced by an affectionate pet. Dury climbed back up onto her shoulder and began grooming himself, one leg sticking straight up in the air as he cleaned his fur. The contrast was jarring. These were the same creatures that had just demonstrated lethal hunting techniques. Now they looked like stuffed toys. Lyra raised one wing hesitantly. How is this possible? How can they be both? That, Hannah said, is what makes them so interesting. And that is what I want to explain next. Not just what cats are, but why they chose to live with humans, and why humans chose to live with them. Hannah sat down cross-legged in the demonstration area. Both cats immediately came to her. Bori climbed into her lap and curled up. Dury settled beside her, his tail wrapping around her leg. They looked completely peaceful, like they had forgotten about hunting entirely. Let me tell you a story, Hannah began. About 10,000 years ago on Earth, humans discovered agriculture. We learned to plant crops and store grain. This changed everything about how we lived. We stopped moving from place to place and built permanent settlements. We stored food for the winter in big containers and buildings. But we had a problem. The stored grain attracted rodents, mice and rats. These rodents ate the grain and contaminated what they did not eat. This was dangerous for early human communities. If the grain was destroyed, people would starve. She stroked Bori's fur gently. The cat pushed her head into Hannah's hand, purring louder. Then cats showed up. Wild cats lived near human settlements already, hunting small animals. They noticed that human grain stores attracted lots of rodents. Easy prey all in one place. So the cats came closer to human buildings. They started hunting the rodents that were stealing human food. Humans noticed this. They saw that buildings with cats had fewer rodent problems, so they started encouraging the cats. They left out scraps of food. They let cats sleep in warm places. They stopped chasing them away. Over time, the cats that were comfortable around humans had an advantage. They got extra food and safe places to sleep. The cats that were too wild or too aggressive did not get these benefits. Slowly, over thousands of years, cats and humans formed a partnership. But here's the important part, Hannah said, looking up at the class. Humans did not force this. We did not capture cats and breed them like we did with other animals. Cats chose to stay. They self-domesticated. Professor Velthar's mandibles clicked. Self-domesticated? That is unusual. Most domestication is done through selective breeding by the dominant species. Yes, Hannah agreed. Cats are different. They are not like dogs who were bred by humans and changed dramatically over time. Cats have barely changed at all. A domestic cat's DNA is almost identical to a wild cat's DNA. Their behavior is almost the same too. The only real difference is that domestic cats are more comfortable around humans. Doran raised one of his fins. So they are still wild predators? Just living with humans? Essentially, yes, Hannah said. A domestic cat can survive independently if needed. Many do. We call them feral cats. They form colonies, hunt for food, and live completely without human help. But many cats choose to live with humans because it is easier and more comfortable. They get regular food, medical care, warm beds, and affection. In return, they provide companionship, and occasionally dead rodents left as gifts. Some students made disgusted sounds. Others looked confused. Lyra tilted her head. But why would humans want to live with predators? It seems dangerous. You said cats can be aggressive. They have claws and teeth. Why would you allow them in your home? Hannah smiled. Because they provide something valuable. Yes, sometimes they scratch us. Sometimes they bite when playing gets too rough. But they also provide comfort. Watch this. She picked up Bori and held her against her chest. The cat's purring grew even louder. This sound, purring, is something cats do when they are content. Studies show that the frequency of a cat's purr can actually help humans heal. It can reduce stress, lower blood pressure, and even help bones heal faster. Just being near a purring cat makes humans feel calmer. And there is something else, Hannah continued. Cats provide companionship without being demanding. Dogs need constant attention and training. They depend entirely on humans. Cats are independent. They keep themselves clean. They use a litter box without training. They can be left alone for reasonable periods. But they still show affection and enjoy being with humans. She looked down at Bori. When a cat chooses to show you affection, it means something. Because cats do not need humans. They choose to be with us. That makes the relationship feel more genuine. Taryn spoke up, their voice still shaky but curious. You keep saying they choose. But how do you know they are not just staying for the food? Good question, Hannah said. Scientists have studied this. Cats form genuine emotional bonds with humans. They show the same attachment behaviors that human children show with their parents. When separated from their humans, cats can become anxious or depressed. When reunited, they show clear signs of happiness. Brain scans show that cats process human faces in the same part of their brain that processes positive experiences. She scratched Dury behind the ears. He leaned into the touch, his eyes half closed. They know who we are. They remember us. They can recognize our voices from other humans. Some cats wait by the door when their humans are about to come home, even when the time varies. They are aware of us as individuals, not just as food sources. Crix had been quiet for a while, but now he spoke. How many of these creatures live with humans? Current estimates are over 600 million domestic cats worldwide, Hannah said. That is roughly 1 cat for every 12 humans. In some countries, more than 1/3 of households have at least 1 cat. Some have multiple cats. The number clearly shocked the class. 600 million predators living in human homes by choice. Professor Velthar stood up and walked closer to the energy barrier. Her multiple eyes examined the cats carefully. This is remarkable. I have studied xenobiology for 30 years, and I have never encountered anything like this. A species of efficient predators, largely unchanged from their wild form, living peacefully with another species, and not just coexisting but forming emotional bonds. It is not unique to cats, Hannah said. Humans have similar relationships with dogs who are descended from wolves. We have domesticated birds of prey for hunting. We keep snakes, lizards, and even spiders as companions. Humans seem to have a unique ability to form bonds with other species, even dangerous ones. Perhaps because you are predators yourselves, Lyra said thoughtfully. Perhaps you understand them in a way we cannot. Maybe, Hannah agreed. Humans are persistence predators. We evolved to hunt in groups, to cooperate, to communicate. Maybe that same ability to work together extended to other species. We saw other predators not as threats but as potential partners. Crick stood up and walked toward the barrier. His yellow eyes focused on Bori and Dury. Could I come closer? Professor Velthar looked surprised, but she nodded. The energy barriers can be adjusted to allow 1 person in at a time. Student Kim, do you agree to this? Yes, Hannah said. But Crix, you need to move slowly. Cats are predators, but they are also prey to larger animals on Earth. Fast movements can startle them. Let them come to you, not the other way around. The barrier opened a small section, and Crix stepped through carefully. He was much larger than Hannah, his scaled body towering over her. The cats looked up at him with interest but no fear. Sit down, Hannah instructed. You are less threatening when you are at their level. Crix lowered himself to the floor, his movements careful and controlled. Dury watched him, ears forward with curiosity. Then slowly, the small cat walked toward the large reptilian predator. Hold out your hand, Hannah said quietly. Let him sniff you. Crix extended 1 clawed hand. Dury approached cautiously, stretched his neck forward and sniffed. His nose twitched. Then, to everyone's surprise, Dury rubbed his cheek against Crix's scales. Crix froze. His eyes widened. He accepted me. Yes, Hannah said softly. Cats rub their scent on things they consider safe or part of their territory. He is marking you as acceptable. Dury continued, rubbing against Crix, purring. The sound seemed loud in the quiet classroom. Crix looked down at the small predator with something like wonder in his eyes. All my life I have been told that Zinthari are the greatest hunters. Crix said quietly. That we are apex predators. That we are superior because we hunt. But these small creatures, they hunt more successfully than us. They have killed more than us. And yet they also do this? He gestured to Dury, who was now sitting beside him, still purring. Being a predator does not mean you cannot also be gentle, Hannah said. It does not mean you cannot form bonds. Cats are proof of that. They can hunt and kill efficiently, and then come home and sleep on your lap. Both things are true at the same time. Crix reached out slowly and gently touched Dury's head with 1 claw. The cat leaned into the touch. Around the classroom, students watched in silence. This moment felt important, though many of them could not explain why. A predator from a proud hunting species, acknowledging and being acknowledged by a small Earth predator. 2 hunters showing each other respect. Professor Velthar's mandibles clicked softly. Student Kim, This has been the most educational presentation I have witnessed in my career. You have demonstrated not only the capabilities of a fascinating predator species, but also something perhaps more important. You have shown us a different way of thinking about predators, about partnerships, and about the relationships between species. She paused. You have earned the highest marks in this class, and I believe your presentation will be discussed for years to come. The energy barriers lowered. Other students began to approach cautiously. Taran came closer too, though they stayed further back than